Hey guys, this will be my first week doing the full conjugate method. I started off with my first max effort lower, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty bad this first week. I thought that resting and deloading last week would have been enough for my deadlift to get back to normal, but I just don't think it was in the cards this week. You'll notice during my warm-ups I very rarely, except on the first set with 135, go above a triple for any of my warm-ups. This is just to save a lot of energy. But like I was saying, the last few weeks have been going really well for me. As far as deadlifts, I've been hitting PRs pretty consistently for over the past 5 weeks, rep PRs. And my max I estimated should have been between somewhere around 610 to 620. So I thought getting 605 would have been no big issue, but turned out to be a little bit harder than I thought. This is probably the slowest 550 I've done in a really long time. Here you'll see it. And I had a little bit of a tricep strain right there. I don't know. I feel like it was a mix between not doing a long enough deload and just having a little bit of tricep strain right there. But what are you going to do? Following that, to stay a little bit conservative, I worked up a 585 training max, and I took 80% of that, and then I worked up to 3 sets of 5 for that, because I still didn't feel really fatigued, although my tricep was giving me a little bit of an issue for the rest of the workout. But it turned out to be nothing really serious, kind of like a Charlie horse type feeling for the remainder, but nothing too bad. It kind of leads me to say that I think the most important part of this program itself is not to be too greedy. I kind of got it in my head that I needed to PR today, but it shouldn't be based on trying to necessarily beat your previous best. It should be how you're feeling that day. There's a little bit of auto-regulation mixed into the way I run this program. So if you're feeling like you can only deadlift 585 like for a particular day, you're not going to try to get 605, and that was a mistake I made today, I think. So in the future, I'll probably just take a little bit of a more conservative jump. So if 550 moves that slow again, maybe I'll just jump like 10-20 pounds, see how the next one feels, jump another 5. So for the remainder of the deadlifts, I just worked on my lockout, because that's where I seem to be struggling, right below the knee / on the knee. So I just worked some block pulls, tried to save my grip a little bit, so I strapped up for this. Just did another 3 sets of 5 at a pretty moderate weight, just really trying to hammer down the lockout portion. And after that, for the remainder, I pretty much just did hamstrings and back extensions just to hit my lower back a little bit harder. Since my deadlift day ended up being pretty subpar, I wasn't really sure what to expect for this. Being that my lockout portion, which is what I'm trying to target with these board presses here, is my weakest part of my lift, or so I thought. I didn't think I'd probably get too much over 385, considering that's what has been pretty difficult with pause reps lately. But turns out I was pretty pleasantly surprised. Here, 365 felt pretty smooth. I thought this would be a lot harder than it was. These are all pause reps, keep in mind. Here's 385. And with a little bit of encouragement after this, I ended up going, I was thinking only 400, but he encouraged me to go 405, and surprisingly, this went up pretty easily too, with a pause even. So after that, I figured I'd get a little bit more out of me. I'd be able to do around 415. It would have been a real struggle there. You'll notice here that I can actually press a little bit more from this sticking point than I can actually press normally, which tells me something as far as my shoulders being weaker than I thought, which isn't all that surprising because my overhead press is pretty poverty in comparison to all my other lifts. But that's sitting at around 205. I feel like if I bring that up, that can really bring up the speed off of my chest, and hopefully in turn it'll help boost my bench a lot. So after that, I did the same thing as I did for the other ones and took 80% of my working max for the day, which ended up being around 335, and then just did 3 sets of 5 for that too.
Ah! That's the war face! Now let me see your war face! Ah! Bullshit! You didn't convince me! Let me see your real war face! Ah!